Hi guys, I'm Nicole Prenoveau, and today I'm going to be talking to Kyler's Spell to Communicate teacher, Kelly Wierbicki. She was a special ed teacher, and when we met her, she was actually working with Kyler doing ABA. And now she is a Spell to Communicate practitioner. So today she's going to be talking about her experience as a special ed teacher and how she got into Spell to Communicate. Kelly, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, and then we'll start from there.
My name is Kelly Wierbicki, and I was a special ed teacher for 33 years, and I retired 3 years ago now.
So I know we met when you were working with Kyler doing ABA. How long did you do that for?
I started with ABA, was first introduced to me in 2002. So I was working at the middle school, working with special ed kids for my entire career. And one summer, the director of pupil personnel services said, we have 4 3-year-olds coming in who have all been diagnosed with autism. And at that point, my experience was mild, I would say, with autism. Like, I hadn't been with non-speakers. And I said, I'll do it over the summer. We had to develop a ABA program, and they gave me an empty classroom and access to a behavior therapist. So I was able to meet with him one time, and he kind of explained broadly concepts of ABA. And it was really then they kind of threw me in there with 3 other adults, and we had to kind of design the setup. We had to design the room and what we would do with the little ones. And I fell in love with it. I loved everything about it. I loved the population I was working with, and I liked the principle of ABA
Uh-huh.
at first.
Yeah.
I saw, especially with the little ones, how it helped them learn basic skills. So that was exciting to me. At that point, the summer was over, I was going back to my middle school job, and I didn't know if I wanted to because I was so in love with what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I looped with my students, and this was a looping year. So I stayed with them, and I was going back to them. And that's really what was the reason I didn't pursue staying in that position. But every summer, I
Yeah.
stayed in that position.
Oh, nice.
And I worked very closely with the woman they hired for that position. And ultimately, those little ones became my students. So once they got to 7th grade, I was able to keep them for the first young man who I had. I was able to keep him for 3 years. And then I didn't like what I saw after that. So then I just requested that I keep my students until they graduated and
Okay.
not send them anywhere. So I did that since 2002 or whatever, for a long time, and I just incorporated those skills into my teaching. And then in the summer I would go back.
Yeah.
And then I was just obsessed with ABA, so I became an ABA therapist. I did the schooling, I got my second master's, I did everything to do that because I did see benefits with the little ones.
Yeah. When we met you, you were doing ABA with Kyler. And I wanted to talk about one thing that I really loved about how you did ABA because we saw a difference in how you did things. And I wanted you to talk about how you modified it and what made you choose to do that.
So I called it like ABA light
Yeah.
because I had a light bulb moment. So I had really been doing it, it was a 6-week summer program. So I was really like dipping my toes in and kind of getting out. And when I would go and observe other ABA therapists, there was a way they spoke that I didn't like. I just thought it wasn't very respectful.
Yeah.
It was kind of demanding.
Yeah.
And then while, you talk to little kids differently, you might use a higher voice and tone. But then I saw that same speech pattern happening with older kids as these guys got older. And that really bothered me.
Yeah.
It really bothered me. And I would see someone come in and either talk about the student in front of them,
They're right
which
there.
as if they didn't hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was just really something that bothered me. And I started putting signs around my classroom about, respecting the people in the classroom.
Yeah.
And I had to put a lot of signs up and I point to them with the paras I had. And it was all about the behavior.
Mhm.
And there were just so many things I saw, like if someone was talking down to one of my students, I saw behaviors rise.
Yeah.
Someone might be a spitter
Yeah.
and they would
That's
get
when you
spit.
see more of that.
Yes, that all increased. If someone banged their head, those would increase.
Oh.
So so I would step in those times, and I tried to model what to do rather than reprimanding anyone or making them feel bad, because really what was happening was they were doing what they were taught
Yeah.
and
So
how they were
you
taught.
couldn't really blame them, but
No, not really. I just had a sense like,
it's not right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like it. And then my big aha moment was I had gotten a puppy and I was walking my dog. I had learned the basics of ABA
Yeah.
and I was trying to get her to heel. I was like, heel, and good job healing, and gave her a treat. And it just like clicked. Like, oh, that's
the
what
same.
I'm doing
Yeah.
at school. Like
Yeah.
dog training. So that really bothered me.
Yeah.
So I would tell everyone that works with me, like, this is not right. Like, we can't be talking like this.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a battle, though. It's a battle because people have been trained and they just go back to that
They're
training.
subconscious. Yeah. That's one thing that I remember when we first started. I would see how they were doing it. And I remember thinking, this is just like dog training. And I didn't know better. And that's why it was recommended to us. I tried to trust it, but the ABA person that we had before we found you, the company you were with, she would say to stop him from stimming. That's one thing that, like, because I used to find Kyler's way of playing with the cars so cute, and she was like, no, you need to correct that, you need to tell him to stop. And I was like, no. I remember being able to say no at that point, starting to be like, I like how he does that and I'm okay with him doing that. I didn't know a lot yet, like it was good for him. I just knew it's cute. Why would you want to stop that? And so, but as time went on, I did learn that it is helpful for them. It's a no to stop it. So, yeah, those were the things that I never really liked about ABA, but we really learned, we were able to love ABA because we saw we saw a change in Kyler when we met you. He was happier. He would have meltdowns before. So he couldn't wait to see you and would not let you leave. So that's one thing I really liked, and I wanted to be able to touch on. So let's talk about how you learned about spell to communicate.
So with this, I lived in a small town, so I got close with the families, from years ago, and we continued contact. And then I was their child's teacher. So one of the families, this was I want to say 2020. I feel like it was 2020. And the family asked me to come over, and I was sitting at their kitchen table, and they gave me this book, Underestimated, and just really didn't tell me a lot about it. They were just like, read the book. So I did. I read the book, and it changed my life, and it changed everything I think about. When I was reading it, I was thinking about all the families that this story would pertain to, and I got super excited and called them. And then they brought their son to the school, and the first time I saw anyone spell, the dad had a letter board, which is just 26 letters in order, and the first thing he did was as he was pointing to the letters, he spelled, "Hi, Miss Wierbicki. I'm so happy I'm finally able to talk to you. Thank you for being so patient with me all these years." And I just started bawling. I was bawling.
Can you imagine?
Because as he's spelling Wierbicki, which is not easy to spell, he's spelling it correctly. And as he's going to he went W-I, and he was going to E, and his father was trying to prompt him to a different letter. And
it's like, nope, this is.
He's right.
Wow.
He's right. So I didn't know anything. I knew what I read in the book. It sounded miraculous. Then I saw it. And when I saw it, it was, I get goosebumps every time I think about it. Because for so long, even if I knew in my gut, these guys are smart and they can read people, I always said, my words were they know someone's energy. They can pick out who's a good person, who's not a good person, immediately. It's instantaneously. So I was so moved by it. I just immediately went to the International Association of Spelling to Communicate's website and signed up to become a practitioner. And that was probably around October of that year. And by December, I had started. I had gotten into my classwork. I told you guys about it.
Awesome.
I was so excited. I believe Kyler was 4 at the time.
Yeah.
Because he was one of the youngest spellers. And he took to it like everyone else. I had just worked with the older people. But he took to it like that. And I really didn't know what I was doing. Everyone in my class, everything was online, and people from all over the world. There was someone from Australia in my class. I had an instructor from New Zealand. They were all over the world.
Wow.
And everyone had a little more information than I did. All I'd seen is one dad holding a board with one student.
Yeah.
His child. I had not, the movie hadn't come out yet. It was just the book. So, and what I saw with my eyes. So I was taking this class, and it was so comprehensive. I felt like I was taking a class on the brain, because it was explaining parts of the brain and what it did.
Yeah.
And what about apraxia and the mind-body disconnect.
Yes.
And then that first student said to me, "Don't listen to what's coming out of my mouth. That's mouth noise." So that's what he spelled.
Wow.
And that was a big thing for me too. Okay, if you're saying no, don't listen. You're telling me not to listen. Listen to what you're spelling.
Wow.
So part of this was we had to work with many different people. Of different abilities. And so I was fortunate because I had my classroom. So I had people with autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, doing spelling. These were all non-speakers. And they were thriving doing it. I would tell them, I would say, Tommy, let's go. We're going to go spell now. And then Susie would start crying because I didn't take
Because they
her to
wanted to
spell.
go. Wow. That's
So
beautiful. It just
that
shows
was a big
how
thing.
they felt about it.
They got so excited to do it. And the young man with cerebral palsy tended to like throw. He just, anything in his hand, he would just throw it. So working with like my teachers and mentors, you know, what do I do? Because we do a lot with using a pencil with a stencil. So they
Mhm.
have to hold it. And then I learned how to modify the board if someone needed it modified, and how really they were all doing it. They were all so excited to do it. And they were so excited, I believe now, to get grade level material, like
Yes, because
age appropriate
felt like
material.
somebody believed in them enough to be able to say they deserve to be doing age appropriate stuff.
Yes. So we went from, one of my students was 17 when we started. So he went from, his curriculum was like point to red,
Wow.
to being in a regular ed chemistry class
Wow.
and getting A's.
I agree. Oh, that's amazing. Wow.
And
Okay.
it's a fight. Like, it's a fight. You have to fight the school systems. And
Yeah. Yeah, we're going through that right now. Wow. That's amazing. I can imagine how they felt from how they had been treated and to be able to have that opportunity. That's amazing.
yes, yes. And so when I retired, that was that was hard because I knew they wouldn't get that.
Yeah.
Um, because really the parents who are really fighting, and the loudest are the ones that are getting it, like for
Yeah.
their child. And then I I felt bad because I didn't know if they would be exposed to it
Yeah.
after I left. And unfortunately they were, and there were horrible repercussions for them. Like they hurt themselves and they were so frustrated, and it was just it's heartbreaking to
All
me.
went back to how it used to be before they found spell to communicate.
Yeah. And I can't even imagine how, like, how they feel. You know,
Yeah,
it's just crushing.
broken. It's heartbreaking just thinking about it.
I know.
Yes. Wow. Yeah, I just remember Kyler when I had taken him out to homeschool him last year. It was because he had been crying every morning when I would
Mm.
be dropping him off to school. So I can imagine he was feeling kind of the same way as they were feeling, like being how they might talk to him at school. And so we took him out. And when we brought him back, did talk about how they need to change, how they talk about around him, and how they talk to him, because we shared all the things that we found out that he's spelling and all the things. He looks happy at school, and I feel like they're starting to kind of respect him in that way. But everything else, we're still fighting. We're still fighting for. We want him to be able to spell in school, and yeah, he's also already starting to show them too that he's able to do these things, because the last meeting, I don't know if I told you this, but they were all excited to share what they've been seeing Kyler do on his device. And so he's showing them what he can do. And they were like, Kyler has been spelling different languages at school. Well, Kyler can I can't believe Kyler did this. And they're like, Kyler's been doing this. And all of them, all the staff has been able to see. And so I was like thinking, wow, Kyler's doing it himself. He's going to get to them. He's advocating for himself. Yeah. It's amazing.
I don't know how anyone can see it, one, like, and not just be blown away by it,
Yeah.
because you watch it one time, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Every day I feel like that. It's
Yeah.
like miraculous every day.
You see all these amazing things. Yeah. Um, so wanted to talk about other things that you've seen with the spellers, that you've shared with me, but I want you to share these stories. Can you talk about when you found out about collective consciousness? And
Yes, that was one of the first things, with the first student. I saw him demonstrating things that I knew he hadn't been taught, because I was his teacher for all those years.
Yeah.
So he told me the term collective consciousness. I didn't really understand it. And that happens a lot with the spellers. They are way smarter than I am.
Yeah.
And they're always teaching me. So I tell them that all the time. Like, you're way smarter than me.
Yeah.
So this collective consciousness, I wasn't really understanding totally.
Mm-hmm.
And then I noticed kind of like I would be doing, maybe thinking something, and they were spelling it. And I thought that was a coincidence, like, okay. And then it became more and more. And then I started to see these little smiles, like little smirks coming up. And then I started doing just kind of my own tests. Like,
yeah.
I would have a discussion in my head and then say something like, if you heard all this, can you just spell orange? And someone would spell orange. And I'm doing this all in my head.
My goodness.
No one. So that was when I thought there was something. But one of the things in my class had been touched on was someone brought up telepathy, and it got shut down really fast.
Mm.
And it was like, no, don't bring it up.
And that was
I was like, okay. That was my class.
Okay.
That was my, like, I asked, like, we don't want to touch on this. They wouldn't even touch on it. So that was really the only thing, my only experience. And then this started happening.
Yeah.
And then the first thing, I don't know the first thing anymore because it happens daily now. But one of the things was I was with a speller who I started my lesson, we were working, and he just kind of went off and said, your sister called you last night to tell you your great nephew is in the hospital. He had a seizure last night and a fever of 105. He'll be okay.
Specifics. Oh my goodness.
So that actually had happened the night before. Had not spoken with anyone about it. My sister had called me just to say, because it was her grandchild.
Yeah.
And she didn't want me to tell anyone. So I didn't. And he knew.
Wow.
So that was one of the first things. Another thing was I was the next, another day, a different person. I remembered when I saw him, I was like, oh, in my head, I'm thinking I had a dream about him last night. Just one of those things, like you wake up, you remember, oh, I had a dream about you. So as we're working, he indicates he wants to say something. I give him the board and he spells. I was finally able to wake you up last night.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And I said, what do you mean? So I have been trying to wake you up for years and pull you into lucid dreams.
Goodness. Wow.
And I don't, when I'm hearing this, I'm not understanding all of it. It takes a while to process because I'm focused on, like, we're doing this lesson now. All of a sudden we've gone off and we're talking about my dream. Wow. And how he's been trying to wake me up.
Wake you up for years.
For years. Wow. So he said, I finally woke you up. Because all I remembered when I woke up was like, I had a dream about him and having a discussion. So that was wild. And and these are all different people that have told me things. My father's been sick. And my father has a condition which inhibits his speaking, coincidentally.
Yeah.
And communication is a big issue. So I have gotten so much. Now, I have not shared this with them, but they know. So someone might say, I want to talk about your dad and what's going on with them. And I just say, okay. And I just put the board out and then they go. So stuff with the election, the presidential election was big. It was a big thing.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was taught, we're communication and regulation practitioner. So part of the job is to stay regulated.
Yeah.
And it means you can't be too up, but you can't be too down.
Yeah.
And you can't react, really. So if
Yeah.
someone says, if I didn't like who someone was talking about in an election, you know, my job is
to just
I just go
neutral.
with it. Or why do you think that? You know, how come you think this way? And they, every one of them had very specific reasons why they all liked the same candidate. And that's when I heard about the Hill.
Okay.
That's when I heard
And that's
someone said they were talking at the Hill.
at the Hill. Wow.
And I also heard about Houston. I don't know anyone named Houston. Now I know of someone named Houston.
Yes.
I've heard of John Paul.
Yeah.
These are all people that live in other states. That my spellers, they know. They know.
Wow.
So they are so I feel privileged that they've kind of let me in.
Yeah, and sharing all these things with you. And that was before you had heard about the telepathy tapes.
Yes.
Because all these names are from the telepathy tapes. That's how we know them now. Wow, that is just wild. Wild.
It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah, just the fact that it just proves, because on the telepathy tapes they talk about they don't have to be in the same zip code. And they're able to all go to the Hill and they all know each other. How did you feel about the Hill when you heard about it?
I want to go. I want to go. I want to be there. Yeah. I feel like these are my people and I want to hang with them all the time because
chat over there.
they're just so amazing.
Yeah.
And I felt like it made sense in a weird way because this didn't make sense to me. Like, how do you know this stuff? It's like downloaded in your brain. Like I wasn't getting it. And now they've told me, like, we go to the Hill and teach each other. And we teach each other other things. And they have friends.
Yeah.
My friend.
I think about how I worry that Kyler has no friends. You know, Kaysen has friends. We have friends that come over to play with Kaysen, but not with Kyler. And it just, knowing all these things helps me understand, you know, it soothes me in knowing that Kyler has friends, you know.
I was talking to a mom of a 22-year-old Monday, and she said, I just feel so happy because I know he has friends.
Yeah, that is important. That is one of the things that there's so many other, but the telepathy tapes or knowing about all their experiences, what you've shared with me has helped me kind of, it just suits you because we as parents of children with autism, we struggle with worry. We worry about will they ever have friends? What are they thinking? What is it like in their world? So knowing these things has really helped me. I don't really struggle with worry anymore. I really was struggling with anxiety, and I can tell you, life has been really good lately. I am more excited about the future. I just, it's just been amazing knowing all these things. Really, really amazing. If it has helped me be able to accept Kyler's diagnosis more, you know how we don't always, like as parents, you don't accept fully because you don't know, because of the unknown. This is just coming to help us understand more of the things that we never could understand. And it's really helped me be able to, I don't think about why is this happening anymore. I don't think about that anymore. It's just I feel like it's really helped me accept. I don't know about other parents. I would like to hear what other moms feel, but it's helped me accept Kyler's diagnosis fully. I know that this is how he's meant to be, and I'm just excited about the future.
Yeah, and they've all said like the same things about God. A lot of God, a lot of love.
That's
so I always think like it's all good because that they're coming in love in God.
Yeah.
Like so
to be.
It's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's no, one of the things I felt in the beginning of this journey for me was so much guilt, because I think you said it, like you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
So
Well,
you're just learning, and I was learning,
yeah,
and I was doing what the experts told me,
yeah,
and I, don't blame them. That's what worked, for them, I guess. But when I've said to them, like, I am so sorry.
yeah,
I have said to everyone I had that I did like ABA with,
yeah.
and I right before I saw Kyler today, I had a 23-year-old with me,
Mhm.
and as I was talking to him about becoming more fluent, and he's open, but he was like giggling, his hands were here giggling, and I was saying, like, I feel so bad about the past, but I really have to fight through it and not live in that. And he
Yeah.
was just giggling and said, just stop it. You've made up, like, it's done. We're good.
Oh,
Like,
I love
okay.
that. They are so forgiving. I've seen story after story of parents that have children that are now open, that are able to, their parents will do what you did and go and apologize to them. And their children, the things they'll say and the ways they say that they're forgiven them, it's just so beautiful. Like
It
I heard
is.
one that told his mom about other people that might hurt their feelings. Forgive them, they don't know better. Something like
Oh,
that. And then there's another one I saw. He spelled um forgive, you're forgiven. It is something like it's in the past, something like that.
mm-hmm.
Beautiful. They're all forgiving. And seeing those things, like I said, right now I can apologize to Kyle, but he can't really tell me I forgive you, mom. But hearing from others and knowing that this is a thing that it's just how they all are. They're so loving and so forgiving. Helps me feel a little better, even though it's not going to go away until I hear it from Kyler that has forgiven me. Um, there's an experience we had a few days ago when the 10th episode came out of the telepathy tapes. Tucker finally listened with me for the first time, and he heard like what towards the end, and they were talking about how there was one talking about how they're so compassionate and how people we most people get consumed with like anger or I don't know, and then they push you towards others and they might hurt other people's feelings, but they need to know that they're still worth loving even when mistakes have been made. That was really like we both
Mm.
we feel the guilt, and so like I was crying, and me and Tucker, like we were just sitting there just thinking about all the things that we maybe have tried to fix Kyler before, and I don't know how we might have talked around him and all these things. We feel guilty, but what he said after that was like, if only you knew, like the compassion we have is like you don't. It's you're always forgiven. Basically, that's what he was trying to say. They're so
Mm-hmm.
compassionate, so loving, and it just is beautiful.
What
It's good.
I've learned is they know, like, from the older guys, like, they know, like, my family has tried they'll try everything, like, they're trying everything.
Yeah,
So deep down, they know, like, okay, we're gonna just roll with it. We're
yeah,
gonna roll with it. But I have not met one person who has any um,
feeling.
anger or bad feelings or
Yeah,
anything. They're just like, oh, forgive it, done.
and
Like, or today, stop it. Like,
they know
stop.
it's just how they know more than we do. Just helps them be able to just not even hold on to none of that.
There's definitely a different level, like
Yeah,
another realm. Oh, someone used the word realm
yeah,
with me the other day and said, um, we have to be patient with people who don't understand. They might not get to that that other realm, but we have to help them. We have to try and help them. Like,
yeah.
it's just the compassion
They still
is
want to
huge.
help them. That is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely beautiful. What I love about them is how they all talk about love. How it's the most important thing in this world. Nothing else matters. Ah, It's
If
just,
people knew, like, I just wish everyone knew, because on the outs, someone said the outsides don't match the insides,
yeah.
and that's so true,
So,
because
yeah.
you could look and think, oh, they're not listening. And I
Mhm.
think that's why a lot of conversations happen in front of them, because
Yeah.
people are like, oh, they're distracted.
Yeah.
No, they're
No.
hearing everything you're thinking and everything you're saying.
Yes. That's another part that people need to remember. They can hear your thoughts on the telepathy tapes. One of the on the 10th episode, because they're all, I remember more of what they said there because it's all spellers. They're sharing their
Hmm.
thoughts, and then one of them was like, at least assume we can hear thoughts because some people. He said most kids that start spell to communicate prefer to be homeschooled because they are surrounded by people that say we presume competence even though they really don't deep down,
Hmm.
and most of these people are probably just saying they presume competence when they're really not deep down. They're not,
I
and these,
know. And
you know,
it's heartbreaking.
it's sad, it's really sad. Yeah, it's really good to know all the information is
Hmm.
really good to know, and we need to be open to this information
Hmm.
and change. We all need to, and
I
it's
think
working.
Kyler comes in, like, and he puts, like, his chin, like, on my forehead.
Yeah.
And it could be out of the blue, like in the middle of something else.
Mhm.
And, like, to me, that's his way of connecting.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
he's really, like, he's in there.
yeah. So what I'm starting also to be open to little things. Something that I feel lately when he does that, he sometimes will pat it, kind of pat it with his hand. I feel like he's feeling
Hmm.
a bit of a fever or something. I'm thinking, and I don't want to believe that this is just my thoughts because it's always whenever he's doing that, I have that feeling that he's trying to check to see if I'm open yet. Does that make sense? Like if I'm
Yes.
ready. Because he will come and sometimes his chin is there and sometimes it's kind of, but sometimes he'll really go in there. And the impression I get every time is that Kyler's checking to see if I'm open. Like
Oh, that's
I have
so
so much goosebumps.
weird.
I could cry because it feels real and true to me. Whenever he does that, he goes to his dad sometimes and he'll check. He doesn't do that to many other people. He'll do that to you. And some
Hmm.
certain people, he like you said before, they can sense people's, you know, energies. Um, he'll check. He'll check. And I'm like,
That makes so much sense.
whenever he does that lately, in my head, I'm saying, Kyler, I'm trying my best. I'm trying. I
Hmm.
I'm trying. I am trying. I know that I have a lot of work to do internally, and I really do feel like he's just telling me, Mom, you guys just gotta keep working at it. I don't know what I need to be doing, but being more conscious, being more. I'm learning. I'm learning. Another question I have for you: is there something that you do that you feel like helps them feel more open to sharing with you because they
Yeah, I have to meditate
uh-huh.
before.
Okay.
Um, if it's a frantic day
Yeah.
or something, like, I won't work with someone if I'm not in a good place, because they pick right up on it. And that's something back to teaching,
Yeah.
when I said energy. Like, if I was having a bad day, I could sit with these guys and they would just, like, sit quietly with me. And
Oh,
that's always been. And we would, like, sit, like, turn the lights off,
yeah.
have music, and just be. Or we do meditation, like, four of us would be meditating,
Uh-huh.
and they'd be giggling. They'd be, like, lying on the, and now I know they're probably talking to each other going,
Yes,
"She's
that's
nuts.
right. Yes, I know.
Can you believe she's dealing with this now?" Um, and but they would be, like, lying on the floor on their mats,
Yeah.
and they'd be, like, giggling, and which would make me giggle too.
Yeah.
But I feel like listening to frequencies, the different frequencies before a session, even if it's only for a couple minutes, puts me into the right headspace.
Okay.
Because you have to clear it. Like
Yeah,
I
I do
like I
too.
said today, I
You
think.
need to teach me that.
Well, it's hard.
Yeah, that's what
They're helping me.
I'm trying to learn. Yeah.
So I've asked, so there are times I think I'm getting it, like I'm hearing
Yeah.
someone talk to me, but I'm not there yet, and it's hard because you don't know, like, are these my thoughts or those?
Yes. Yeah.
So I've been working with my spellers. They're just telling me what to do, like what I need to do,
Okay.
so that I can communicate with them that way. Like they can hear me, I just can't always hear them
Yeah.
most of the time.
Hmm.
I think there's been a couple times it's popped through, and
Okay.
that's, I don't think I know. I do know because I've asked.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so I've gotten that confirmation, but it doesn't come naturally.
It's not like you can go back and think how did I do that? Like you can't.
No, except meditation, and they've all said this to me, like you need
Okay.
to meditate every night,
Okay.
like meditating, yoga, and just like working out, kind of,
Okay.
just to get rid of some of that negative energy or whatever you might have going
Yeah.
on. But before, if I'm back to back sessions, I try and keep 10 minutes or something in between, so I can play music. Uh, I say music, but I put in frequencies, and
Okay.
there's certain frequencies for certain people.
Okay.
Uh, um, I played around with that for a while. I had
Idea
tuning
which ones that
for it.
match. Okay.
So they're, I have big, they're all physically bigger than me,
Yeah.
the upper teens, early 20s. And, and for a lot of them, I have a history. So I really had to kind of get rid of that history,
Okay.
because you don't want to, if someone bangs their head, I don't want to have that in my head,
Need
that
to remember
if
that.
it's not going well, he's going to start banging his head.
Okay.
Because to me, that kind of puts it in their head,
So,
even without knowing anything about telepathy.
okay.
I just,
It just made
like, we
sense
have
to.
to have a clean slate.
Okay.
Um, and one of my spellers today, we talked about what did you think the first time when you hadn't seen me in years?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, like I was on his parents, like, you got to do this.
Yeah.
And the first time I was just presenting him with this information and having him spell, and he was spelling. And he said it was the coolest thing I've ever experienced.
Oh, sweet. Beautiful. Wow.
And
Um,
I feel blessed that they've let me in.
yes, that they feel like so safe to be able to share with you these things. Not everybody gets that opportunity. You really are blessed.
I feel blessed. I really do feel blessed. Like they trust me
Yeah.
enough to kind of take me into this community,
Yeah.
and share what they've experienced. It's so amazing, and I'm so appreciative all the time. Like,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing with me.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
And they've said the world needs to know. Like, the
Yeah.
world needs to know. So,
They really
and
need.
so
You need.
I was talking to one person a couple weeks ago, like, boy, if Joe Rogan would
Yeah.
get on this, because he's got this huge
And yeah.
podcast.
And that was before he actually did.
He did. I saw it last night, where he was talking about the telepathy tapes, and saying, wow, this is wild.
That is
So
amazing.
I sent him an email and
Wow.
said, you need to get on this. Like,
Yeah.
you need to shout it from the rooftops. This
Yeah.
population's been silenced for too long.
Yeah. It would be amazing if Kai Dickens would be able to go and talk to him, be on his show. And his show is like 3 hours long. That everybody would be on there and they would know everything they need to. Information depends on who is bringing it. Joe Rogan, a lot of people look to his opinion. So I was so happy to see that he's on this. I was like, oh,
Me too.
people are going to hear about it. And going to get an opportunity to hear about this information. And like, I've been trying my best too to share. And I was feeling like people might think I'm crazy. Or, I don't know, but I'm seeing that a lot of autism moms, at least that I know, are like following the telepathy
Mm-hmm.
page. So like they are doing these things. They're listening, and it's good to see. It still feels kind of lonely for me, at least when I'm sharing. I share. I don't see a lot of people, you know.
I think people are afraid.
Yeah,
I think they're afraid. I think they're afraid to. I told you there was a Facebook page now about this,
yeah,
separate from the spelling because that was muddy.
yeah.
They didn't want that to be involved. But there's so many parents
That one,
in
that
this
went on
group.
to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all saying the same thing. Like, I knew it was something. Like,
Oh,
it's
that's amazing. It's good for parents to be able to have that community. Like
yes.
from when we started talking about it, I had been telling, I would talk about it with you and my sister in law and my mother in law. And Tucker wasn't there. He wasn't really into it yet. So I'll feel so lonely. I still kind
I
of do.
know.
I just can't wait to find like a real community. I need to go on Facebook and be able to be in that group and, feel a
Mm.
part and be able
Yeah,
to.
because they're really getting like the parents are they're talking about it. They're talking about the God aspect, and then right before I got on, someone had posted something like the parent is an atheist, so they don't believe in God, and now they have their child saying,
Just talking
"Oh,
about God. That is huge. That just tells you everything you need to know.
I know." So
Like
they're like, "I've been an atheist my whole life," and da 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 da, and now
your child is talking
their
about.
worlds are changed.
And now they all say that this gift is from God.
Hmm.
It's amazing. So I was just thinking about how it's talked about on the telepathy tapes. It just makes sense how they talk about it. It's what we learn, at least in our church, everything about where we come from, like how they talk about our true self.
Mm.
That is true to us for us because we learned that we lived with God before, and we're here into this body, which they called an avatar on the telepathy tapes. It just makes sense. You have this body just temporary. It's not forever, because after this body, there's still
Mm.
a life that continues. And they talk about it. And I was just like, this is the gospel. This is all what we know to be true. It's
I
amazing.
have
It's
I have
amazing.
another story. If you
Yeah.
have
Oh, I still have time.
so okay, a couple weeks ago, it's going to sound like this doesn't have anything to do with anything, but
Yes.
there was a raccoon on my front porch
Mhm.
for 8 hours. Okay, so it wouldn't leave. It
Yeah.
wasn't it. It was looking at us. It wouldn't leave. So long story short, I had called like DEP, animal control, the police, and the last phone call, they were like, "Well, have you tried making noise?" Which I'd been doing for hours.
Mhm.
And they said, "Pound on the window." Well, I pounded on the window. My hand went through the window.
And
So
oh boy.
there's like blood coming down. I'm trying to like protect my dog. I'm thinking the raccoon's going to jump in. It was a
Yeah.
lot of drama.
Oh.
So the next day, someone gives me the number for someone to come fix my window because there's a hole. And the person I text shows up. We're talking, and his uncle his uncle and I went to high school together. His uncle has passed,
Mm.
but we're very good friends in high school. His name's Dave.
Okay.
So we talk, and hands up. I'm gonna fix it. I'll get it. I'm not gonna charge you anything. Very nice person. The next day, I'm with a client, and they then tell me everything that happened. You
That
know,
they
the whole
already
story
knew.
about the raccoon.
And
Mhm. And I said, "Well, yep, yeah." I'm like, "It was a day." And I was like, "How do you know?"
they
He said, "Well,
already
Dave was here. Dave told me. Dave, who's died a few years ago." He said the full name, though. He said first, last name. Then he said, he wanted me to tell you, he sent Fred who was the nephew, who
Yeah.
that was his name. And he's with, and he named two people we went to high school with who died when we were in high school.
That they're
First
together.
and last name. And it's just very casual. And if so, someone's pointing at letters. He's pointing,
And you're
and
having to.
I don't. So, and I'm keeping track of the letters and writing down, and I have to pause. And he says the first name. He tells me, Dave Smith. I'll say Dave Smith was here and told me, and he's with your friends, Julie Jones and and so, I mean, the spelling's right, the names are right.
And
I have not talked about this.
so,
I had not told anyone about what happened. It was so frustrating. It was such a frustrating day.
yeah.
I wanted to forget about it. And then to have not only what happened,
But
but
to
then the person who's coming to fix my window,
yeah.
who I got the number from a random person. I didn't know who I was texting.
And when they got there, did you know that he was the nephew of, or did
No.
you find that out after talking?
When he was here.
Wow.
When he was here, we were talking. And where do you live? How far, how far he was. And he lived in Burlington. I grew up in Burlington. So that's how it started going. I was like, what's your last name? And that's how it went. And I mean, I didn't bring up the friends who had died years ago. He wouldn't know who they are because he's the nephew. So, and they died when we were 12 and the other one was when we were 14. But
wow.
His uncle knew them because we all went to elementary school together. I mean, that stuff happens so much. And I just sit there and go, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Well, tell them I said hi. My love.
Oh my goodness. That is wild. And
it's so wild. It's very exciting.
It really is. Which is why sometimes when I talk about it with certain people, I don't see the excitement. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like,
I know.
This is crazy. I just really hope people get more open to it, because the more they're open, the more these kids will feel more comfortable, to share.
I think it's happening.
Yeah, I feel so. Like with Kyler. Oh, I told you about what happened the day we listened to, when Tucker joined me to listen. Kyler came into our room saying, Dad, Dad, Dad. And we were shocked. So Tucker's like, what? He came, picked him up, and I'm trying to get my phone to get the, and he just stayed there and gives him kisses and just stayed there for a little while. And then after that, he pulls himself towards me to come and grabs me so that we're all in a hug. And then he makes me and Tucker give a kiss. And she's like, so sweet. He pulls both our heads to give a kiss. And then he then takes all of our heads together, our foreheads together. And as we're trying to pull away and say, we love you, he keeps pulling us back. We're like, we love you so much, trying to give him kisses. No, pulling us back. I'm like, wow, Kyler. It was just, so we just stayed there and just felt, stayed there. And then after, he just walks away. And then I look at him, I'm like, Kyler knows you were listening today. That was the first day he had listened. And he looks at me and smiled. And was like, I know. That was such a for me, because I'm like, he's finally in, and Kyler knows. And then after that, just thinking everything's fine, Tucker went to work, and he stayed, and he's jumping, and he's excited, more, Kyler gets noisy. Yeah. He's excited, but this was more. He was just happy, and something told me he's happy. He's just excited about what happened this morning. He's typing. So he types his Mickey Mouse phrases. He types, hooray, our picnic is safe. But that same impression that I told you about, that tells me that when he touches me, he's thinking I'm ready. That same impression said, you got to listen to this. Listen to this. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wow, Kyler, hooray. And then after that, right after that, he's just going. He says, yippee, it worked. And he's jumping and he's looking at me and he's pulling me, like, and he's like getting my attention.
Oh,
You understand? Like, you get, I'm like, I'm listening, buddy. I'm listening. And I'm taking a video. I'm like, I'm listening, Kyler. I am listening. And then, so Tucker comes home after, when he gets home, I'm saying, I tell him what he did. I said, Kyler this morning said this. So he's excited that you were listening. And Tucker says, what time did you do that? I was like, it's the time you were going to, when you just left for work. He was just so excited. He's like, that is the time I had just started listening to the first episode. I was like, are you kidding me? Tucker, and he's like, yep, I get it. And then he picks him up and gives him a hug. He's like, Kyler, he gets it. Feels like Kyler was hoping for the 10th episode to help his dad get it on board, and he said it worked. It
oh,
was beautiful. And I got all on the video. And it was just,
that's awesome.
yeah.
You guys have such a beautiful family, and you do include him in everything. And I just think you guys are like the poster children of what to do. Like, this is how you should do it. Because since I've known you, I don't feel like, I mean, there's things when you have a little one, you have to tell people, like, if there's something, you have to talk about him in front of him because you're talking about him.
Yeah.
And that's something everyone has to do. But I think he's always included. He's so happy. He's so happy,
he really is.
all the time.
He is a happy boy. He really is. He is.
You know, and he's so smart, and he knows it, and he's so proud of himself.
Yeah,
It's
you can just see it on his face whenever he does something. He's just beaming.
He's amazing. I just think that, like, your family's like the perfect family. Like, you guys are doing everything right. You really are.
Thank you. We don't always feel that, so it's good to hear.
Doing everything right. I mean, I think about all the things he accomplished when he was homeschooled.
Mm-hmm.
And how far he got in that time.
Yeah,
and that's on you.
Oh, thank you.
A lot got done. I think it's amazing. I really do. I think it's amazing.
Thank you so much. My laptop is about to die. I don't want to lose this. This was such a good conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime. Anytime you ever want to do anything like this.
Yeah, I'd love to do more. I feel like I found a new purpose after listening to the telepathy tape. I wanted to do this for a while, but now I feel like that's what made me jump onto doing this. I was like, people need to know about this. These kids their voices need to be heard. And if I can do anything to help, I will do it. I was so nervous to even do this, as you know.
Oh, you're great.
It was my first time, and it went well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was great. And you're just doing so much. Your little reels and Instagram about what to do. I think they're so informative and helpful and amazing.
Thank you so much.
This was great.
Thank you. We'll see
you. This is great.
Thank you.
Bye, Nicole. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed our conversation. I will see you guys on my next video.